I was right next to the engine that exploded. So I think I was the first one that said that there was a fire. And I remember hugging Nigel Martin, and he's saying that we got lucky. We got lucky today. I might have been able to give 2 penalties away. I got a yellow card. So I got substituted at half time. So George Graham said to me, "You're not allowed to tackle," because I think I got in the first 13 games, we got 7 yellow cards. I think getting the team back up like Jels has done is such a joy.
Hello. This is the Roaring Peacock, Leeds United fan channel on YouTube. Hello, how are you? We have the Terminator here, Robert Molenaar. Do you like being called the Terminator, by the way, Robert?
Yes, not a problem. Not a problem.
Excellent. All that time spent painting you as the Terminator hasn't gone to waste then.
No. I know that there's been some controversy, if you say so, that I wouldn't liked it, but something to do with also being a football player where the Terminator more demolishes the opponent. But at that point in time, I had the arrogance to say that I would like to be known for my football as well. So that's why there was some hesitant reaction on me being called a Terminator. But I'm very happy being called a Terminator.
I can assure you it's a term of love. It's a term of endearment.
I know. I realize that.
A lot of happy memories when I was a very small child. Okay, so if you are new to the channel, if you'd like to subscribe, that'd be great. And if you love Leeds, why not hit the like button? Okay, here we go. The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions.
Any references to actual people are wildly inaccurate. It's probably best if you don't listen at all. The Roaring Peacock Podcast.
Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock Podcast. This is a bonus episode where we are speaking to, I'm sure you've guessed it already from the title, Robert Molenaar, the Terminator. So to introduce him, I'd like to introduce Stats. You know him as at LUFC Stats. Of course, my name's Adonis and you know me as at the Adelites. So Stats, have you got some stats for us?
I have, yes.
Molenaar.
We've got with us a very special celebrity ex-Leeds United player. 65 games for Leeds United between, I think, January 97 and December 1998. Made his debut marking Emil Heskey in a 3-0 victory at home to Leicester City. It's a very, very special warm welcome to Terminator himself. Good evening, Robert Molenaar.
Good evening. I thought I played more games, actually, for Leeds, but there we go.
Yes. 65 games.
Some friendlies, maybe?
Yes.
I don't know. I think I've tried to count it out, and I thought it was 75, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm completely... I trust your stats better than mine.
We try. I'd like to sort of take you back to January 97. Obviously, George Graham had just taken over from Howard Wilkinson the previous September. Leeds are sort of struggling in the wrong half of the table. You're also at FC Volendam. How did the move to Leeds sort of come about, Robert?
Oh, that was quite special because I was on trial at Spurs at that moment in time. We had a winter break in Holland, and that was... and I remember that there were, I think, 3 clubs that were interested, Middlesbrough, Spurs and Leeds. And I think Leeds were the ones that came to our stadium to watch me play. But there was 2 different agents. That one agent wanted me to go to Spurs, but I had to go on trial there. So I was happy to go on trial. And there was a time where Ramon Vega and John Scales,
yes,
were both going to Spurs right before me, and Leeds were interested in those players as well, and they thought they were missing out on number 3 as well. So They came with an offer, and I think on the Thursday I travelled from London into Leeds by plane. And on the Thursday I was training, and on the Friday I was making my debut against Leicester. So it really, came about very quick, very sudden. And there were times in that period that I had to pinch myself, what was happening to me, and I couldn't believe it.
It's an interesting game, that one, your debut. So you lined up with Mark Jackson, who, of course, now is the under-23s coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone into coaching as well. And playing for Leicester that day was Simon Grayson.
Right. I don't know that. I know I only know Heskey.
Yes.
At that point. And it was very special because it was there wasn't any time to worry. You just have to dive in. I had to get used to zonal marking the day before, because we were used to men marking at the back, which they do now under the coach now, Bielsa. But then zonal marking was totally new for me. So I had one session to get me in shape. I remember David Weatherall done a great job doing that. And we just went in, and it all went from there. It was a great game, great start, man of the match. I came from Volendam, which is a very small club, although we played Premier level. But everybody thought, you don't have any international experience. You're not an international player playing for your country. So what is he doing in the Premiership? And then after the game, I was man of the match, and I was a bargain for the amount of money they paid for me. So that was good, a good entrance.
And what was it like playing under George Graham? Because I know he was a strict disciplinarian. We had to bring, obviously, defenders in at that point to keep us away from sort of the relegation scrap. I know you kept a lot of clean sheets as well under George.
Well, obviously, I was over the moon having to sign in the Premier League with Leeds. And George was gave great structure to defense and stopping the opposition from playing. And I think that was the first thing to do, because I remember when signing, Ian McNeil was the chief scout, and he said, we have to stay up first. That's the first assignment. And then we're going to build on from that. So we just, went from defense and trying to get the players in that could also score goals later on. And so 6 months after that, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank came, and a few other signing, I think Alfie. And so, and from that, we more and more we wanted to play. And I think when George went to Spurs and David O'Leary took over, that was the time that we had far more initiative instead of only trying to stop opposition. And so the focus came more on having the initiative and play, and having more youngsters and more position play on training. And in training on the George was more working with the back four, one-on-ones in midfield. I remember those sessions, and loads of running. So we were fit. So that was and strong. So that was good. But I think O'Leary took it a step further when he joined, when he brought in youngsters and that could play football.
So I want to ask you about the plane crash in a second, and then I want to talk about like goals and how Leeds changed over time. But just when you arrived at Leeds, that dressing room, so Lee Bowyer, Nigel Martin, David Weatherall, Rod Wallace, even Ian Rush was there for a short time. Tony DeRigo still there, and Gary Kelly, and a lot of these players. So what was that dressing room like And what were the characters like in there? How was being in that squad at that time?
It was obviously, when I said pinching myself, one of those things were the players I played with. So we had our Thomas Brolin. I only knew from, I remember because I had two coaching badges, got two coaching badges before I came to England. And I remember having to analyze Parma against Ajax. And Brolin was playing for Parma. So he was more or less a god for me. And then all of a sudden, when I remember once I sat in a car with him, with Carlton Palmer, who obviously had 25 caps, with Ian Rush. And I was on the phone with a mate of mine that I played with. So, and he asked me, what are you doing? And I was saying that I was driving with them. And, he couldn't believe it, going from Volendam and playing with virtually nobodies, and then going into a dressing room with these characters and these qualities. It was very special indeed.
Okay, so let's take you to the 30th of March, 1998 then. We probably wouldn't be talking about this game if what happened afterwards didn't occur, but West Ham 3, Leeds United 0. The team that day, Martin, Kelly, Alfie Haaland, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Bruno Ribeiro, Lee Bowyer, Weatherall, Haller, Hart, Hayden, Maybury, Wallace, and yourself, of course. Beanie, McPhail, Matthews on the bench. There was George Graham, there was David O'Leary, there was Peter Risdale. There was also Bryn Law and Norman Hunter. Not a great game. I'm reading a match report from leeds-fans.org.uk. I'm not sure who wrote this. I think it was, John Lee. There you go. So he actually gave you basically man of the match for us. There's some notes here. For a header alone, he gave you 7 out of 10. For a header alone in the second half when he was about 30 feet off the ground. Astonishing! Exclamation mark.
Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Not
so far.
Not a game to remember, let's say. But what happened afterwards is the whole reason why we're bringing this up. So the British Aerospace 748 set off from Stansted Airport, 12:20 a.m. So shortly after takeoff, there was an emergency. The aircraft had an explosion. It caught fire. The pilot had to break protocol and immediately land back on the platform.
Yeah.
Normally they would circle around, and afterwards he said that if they'd have circled around, the engine would have exploded. He would have guessed. So that's as close to mortality as you can get. How was that then? Let's talk about that.
I can't remember anything about that game, not even the header, getting 30 feet off the ground. And I also could not remember that we were off the ground with the plane. Apparently we were 400 feet in the air, or 300 or 400 feet in the air, and he set it back down again. And I thought we never left the ground. I was told that we were very lucky that we weren't on Stansted, because the runways are longer there because of the big plane Concorde was able to depart there and land there in London. But anyway, at the moment, I was right next to the engine that exploded. So I think I was the first one that said that there was a fire. So from that, things were put into motion, and there was a bit of a panic. I remember Peter Ridgedale sitting in front of the aircraft, and his son was sitting in the back, and he was trying to get out, and obviously a sort of panic started. And I remember shouting out that everybody had to stay in his seat and stay calm. And I think that is what happened, and we were just waiting that the plane was back to a standstill, being with the nose, and that these are images afterwards, being with his nose on the ground and his tail up in the air. We were trying to get out of the left-hand side of the airplane, because the right-hand side was getting more fire when you eventually got to a standstill. And I remember grabbing my coat and my handbag, because everybody was carrying it just as the toilet bag from the game. And I got out at the front, one of the last ones out of the front. But I remember Stephen McPhail saying that he was trying to get out of the back, but there was a sponsor who was quite large, and he didn't want to jump all the way down. So Stephen gave him a push, and the guy who came in contact on LinkedIn later on broke his vertebra, and he spent 6 months in a hospital recovering from that. And he was living in the same lane I was living in on Ling Lane and in Scarcroft. So, but I think we were quite relaxed when it all happened, and not so much panicky like you would imagine if you are saying, you come close to mortality and death. But I think we took it as it came, and we never really got so much in panic that we froze, or we just stayed calm, got out of the plane. I think we got out of the plane, stood maybe 150 yards away from the plane, maybe even too close. If it would all, gone up, we might have been too close even still. And I remember hugging Nigel Martin, and he's saying that we got lucky. We got lucky today, and then we were just, how do we going to tell people back home what happened? So I remember I have to be really relaxed when I call my wife and say, don't panic for her. So I was very in control when I was on the phone and saying, well, it's all going to be a little bit later. We've been in a plane crash, nothing happened. We're coming back on the coach, so we're going to be home later than you expect. And she was just, okay, that's fine. And then in the morning after, she saw on television what had happened, and she couldn't believe how easy we were, how calm I was, and so she developed a fear of flying, and I'm not too bothered. So I don't know if that's sane or healthy, but I just came through it all right, I think.
That must have brought you guys together, that squad, closer together, no? Yeah.
Since the day I signed, I think that it was like a remarkable dressing room with, especially Nigel Martin, who took me literally by the hand, with David Weatherall, same, but also Gary Kelly, who was the clown and a leader as well, like a social leader, taking the group together, doing all sorts of things. But when we had to work in training, we worked. But when we had some time to relax, he took the group and we had a good time. So it was a group that socialized together as well as performed. They made me feel so at home from the very first second I was on the training ground. they've made me feel so much at home. I took a lesson from that, because I think we could have done with that a little bit more when I was at Volendam and we had some Serbian players coming in, and we were maybe a little bit more suspicious towards those kind of players, where I came to Leeds and you were one of the guys from the start, and that is a lesson I've learned from that.
I mean, we've had some comments on Twitter when we sort of advertised that you were coming on, and people were saying, right from the start, when you were man marking Emil Heskey, and you booted the ball into the cop, make a clearance, and it just showed that steel and that grit right from the start. That right. a lot of people made the same, very similar comments, that they took you straight to their heart straight away.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Did you feel that from the crowd as well, from the
yes.
city?
Yes. Well, we foreigners look towards the English supporters in general as the way it should be, with your heart and with everything you've got, you support your team. And I think we in Holland, especially in Holland, we can take an example of that that attitude. It's not in Holland. You're still a human being just like everybody else. And in England, you can be a star, and it's a cultural thing. But they make you feel like a star, like you're more than anybody else, and that is something that can lift you up tremendously. And I've enjoyed that very much, and look back on that, with hoping that you can enjoy that sometimes again later on in life. But when that happened, it was just beautiful. I remember passing a ball from one side to the other side with my outside right foot, and the crowd went up, and I thought, this is great. When you give away a tackle and it will be a corner kick, and everybody is cheering because you made that tackle. Mm-hmm. So they do spur you on to greater heights than anywhere else in the world, I think. And that was great at Leeds. I feel so sorry for everyone cannot, being back in the Premier League and not being able to visit those games. It must be horrendous.
I just want to take you back to one of your goals that you scored. It's Super Sunday away at Blackburn Rovers. I think Blackburn were top of the league. Very sunny day. I think Leeds had taken an early lead through Rod Wallace. We get a corner from the right-hand side. Gary Clay takes the corner. And I think it's a side foot volley into the top corner past Tim Flowers. What do you remember about that one?
Well, I remember everything because I saw it back on YouTube.
Yes, yeah.
I also remember it because it was a game where so many things happened, because I think the end score was the score at halftime.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
So and I remember giving away a penalty. I might have been able to give 2 penalties away. I got a yellow card. So I got substituted at halftime. So,
really?
So scoring and all those mixed emotions were brought back to me via the internet, and I've seen it all back. And it was a good goal. It was a moment where you don't have time to think. All of a sudden, the ball goes over his head, and you can only do one thing: is put your foot against the ball, and it went in top corner, which was great. And I was maybe just as surprised as everybody else, cheering the way I did at that moment. I just stood still and put my hand on, and that was it. So a great memory, and my kids look back at it and they have to laugh, and then I tell them that I had to be substituted at halftime as well.
Can you tell me some of your like best moments, or like maybe if there's one like particularly spine-tingling moment, walking out onto the Elland Rd pitch and hearing that roar? Oh.
The best roar is right before kickoff. That's the best roar in the world. Everybody's getting excited. Maybe even when you clear the pitch after the warm up, the stadium is not completely filled up, and then you come back, and then everybody's in his seat and ready to go, and then right before, we're always what I think was special. We always ran onto the pitch, clapping the supporters. We were always running on, and now everybody, they walk onto the middle of the pitch and then wave. Mm-hmm. But we were always, more energetic to go on, and from that moment, you got into your focus and what you have to do, and then that final roar right in the seconds before kickoff is very special. Obviously, my debut is very special. Everything that happened for the first time, you can remember. But also, I think on the top of the list is also games against Maritimo, but especially against Roma, where we played against one of the top players in Europe at that point in time, Totti. I got his shirt even. So those are moments. Getting man of the match against Newcastle, Alan Shearer. Those are moments that I'm not able to get back every minute of the game, but just the memories probably just stick into your brain, and those are the top three, I think.
I just want to take you back to, obviously, sadly, your last competitive game in Leeds was away at Arsenal just before Christmas in December '98. Obviously, David O'Leary had come in and taken the reins from George Graham. What do you sort of remember about that game at all?
Was that my injury?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that my last game?
Yeah.
Right. I remember from that game not so many things. It's a long time ago, isn't it? But obviously, doing my cruciate at that point was Anelka coming from. I remember getting the ball off him, and I thought I would have to deal with him on my left, coming from my behind. So I dribbled with the ball on my right, and then he came on my right. So I tried to protect the ball with my leg, and he ran into it, and that made it. I made gone over my knee and done the cruciate with a hell of a lot of pain, and having 20 months or so recovery, because the one that the cruciate that was repaired broke after 3 months, so it just took much longer. And I'm not even sure if it was before halftime or after halftime. So I remember there was an X-ray machine at Arsenal, and I think, I'm not sure if they X-rayed me, but I more or less knew that there wasn't a lot of coming from that. But it took only the day after, or even 2 days after, going into surgery or seeing the Mr. Bollen, who operated on me, and knowing that it was a cruciate ligament injury. So obviously that was devastating. But I can't really remember a lot. I know that Anelka played, because obviously he was the one that accidentally knocked me over, and but other than that, I can't remember a lot from that game.
I know you kind of made the bench for some of the Champions League games, but did you kind of get a feeling with the signings that Leeds were making, the likes of Rio Ferdinand, Don Matteo, that your time maybe up at Elland Rd?
Yeah, I remember because it was after 17 months, I was on a machine, Bidex machine, where I still had 50% of strength in in my injured leg. So I took a little bit more. I got my own physiotherapist. I had physiotherapy during the summer, trying to get back before the season started, the Champions League season, and I made that work. But obviously, it was almost 20 months. So, and I always had to have it from strength, and I was just not fit enough. And in the meantime, Leeds has done so much growing with the players. Michael Dewberry came in, but also, and that was before I signed an extension, because there was obviously my contract ran out, and they gave me an extension, so I could prove myself. That was my goal, and I think it was the club's goal to maybe even get a little bit of money for me, trying to sell me on. So when I got fit, right before the season, David O'Leary came to me and he said, you can go to Wimbledon, or you're happy to stay. And I remember I think it was right after or shortly after the Munich 1860 game that we won. And then we had to go out to Middlesbrough, I think. And I was on the bench in the qualifier, and then I made a decision trying to go for my chances at Leeds. And from that point in time, I went to the stands instead of. So it was. I think it was more an extension on my contract to sell me on, than they had really plans with me. And I just, I was just trying to make it back into the Leeds squad and Leeds team, knowing that was going to be difficult. And then on top of that, Rio came in. So the line I was on got thinner and thinner. And then I said to my agent that it might be better to look for another club. And Bradford came in. And I think it was number 5 Leeds player that went to Bradford, and it was all very convenient and Premier League at that point. So that was better for me at that point. Although staying at Leeds would have obviously preferred, but with a goal at the end, and not with a manager that probably wanted to sell me on anyway. So. But that was fine. I had a brilliant time, and I would do it all over again, even with the plane crash, with the knee injury. I would do it all again, and maybe even do it more consciously. So you can, when you look back, you more or less have regrets. You're very much focused on performance and preparing, and not so much the complete, overall dream you're living with all the intention, with all the players you play against, with all the players you play with. Some of the memories, they just go because you don't pay attention enough at that moment.
In hindsight, we should have kept you, to be honest. We shouldn't have bought Rio. It went financially bad for us. I think if we'd have kept a hold of a few players instead of trying to buy the world.
Well, that was the downfall, wasn't it? But when you have a goal of getting into the Champions League every time, you have to move up in the world. I can appreciate that, but I have to be honest. After my knee injury, I was not the player I was before that, because I remember my first game at Bradford. And I had to, I think it was Spurs or something, and I had to sprint. And I thought, having that ball, I can have that ball. And I came short, like 2 yards or something, which I think I would have easily have done that before my knee injury. So it took me another 6 months to get even a little bit back from the speed and strength I had before my knee injury.
The other thing I would say, just on what you said, the Premier League dodged a bullet there, because it could have been Vinnie Jones and Robert Molenaar at Wimbledon, and that would have been some team. I tell you, the crunching tackles that would have been going on.
Yeah, he was something special, wasn't he?
Yeah, certainly was. Sats, did you have anything before? Because
I'm guessing, Robert, you must be delighted to see Leeds back in the big time after so long and sort of holding their own in the Premier League.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I've got some fans living it with me. My sons. We went back in, I think, 2017. Came back and watched the game. It was a 0-0 at home, one league below, and then Bielsa made it, and we all were thrilled, because obviously when I was playing, my oldest was not old enough to remember sitting on the stands, and now coming back, seeing what kind of culture and what kind of atmosphere it is in such a stadium, in such a league, and getting the team back up like Bielsa has done is such a joy. And also we feel so sorry for you guys, but also for ourselves, not to be able to come over and enjoy a game in the stadium and maybe relive a few memories. And I think that he and the boys do a tremendous job. It's very special the way I've done some coaching coming back to Holland. I think there's a little bit of a change in the way of playing. I think Bielsa set another standard of how you can evolve the game, and I think he's done tremendously. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it.
Okay, and so just finally then, just want to ask you what you're up to now. So you've had a few different coaching roles in the past sort of 7-8 years.
Yes.
Where do you see your future? Do you want to continue with coaching? Are you looking for a new club?
Well, it's a bit because my coaching career came off quite good. Being coach at Volendam, the club I played, done okay, done really well, but was thanked 2 games before the playoff. Then I went down south. Also couldn't fulfill my duties, and then going to Almere. That was my latest job, and also there the expectancies were higher than I could show them. So I was dismissed there as well. So the bottom line is that I might not be fit for this sort of work. On the other hand, everywhere I was sent away, the results were worse than when I was there. So I might have, I might have done something okay when I was there. But I think you need a bit of luck to not only, work and do things well, but also get a little bit of success if you want to make steps. And with the Corona and with the, I think there's a lot of clubs that, struggling with money and stuff. So they're very anxious of making the right decisions and being very careful. So yes, I'm trying to get a new coaching job, but I've been home quite a long time. Ever since Corona evolved, I've been at home. So if it's not going to be in the near future, and probably need to be looking for something else. But I think I've got something to offer, and hopefully, who knows, maybe even join Leeds again.
Well, I wouldn't say no, definitely not.
Absolutely.
I think, you could say the game's gone soft a little bit. that's a common phrase that is bandied around these days. But if you look at somebody like Liam Cooper, I'd say that tackles are still well and alive, and I definitely think that you would be an expert in that. I was listening
when I came to Leeds, George Graham said to me, "You're not allowed to tackle," because I think I got in the first 13 games, I got 7 yellow cards, I think. So he banned me from tackling on training. So every time I put a foot in, he would whistle and he would give me a foul against, which I'd not really understood at that point in time. But now, being a manager, I've done the same towards other players on training, I have to say. Because you need the full squad to perform, but I think there is softness but I don't think in England so much, but more, and they're going the wrong way about it as well. But I think still in England it's much more fair than anywhere else. So I think you're still in it. On the good side of things with the referees and stuff.
I was listening to an interview with Thierry Henry the other day, and he was talking about his efforts in management and how there's a lot dependent on the players and the board. And he even said, like, I would have been a lot easier, more forgiving on managers that managed me, that coached me in my career after being on the other side of it and trying to do this. And there's so much more involved than he ever thought that there would be. I think like everybody, can go through bad projects or work with bad people or in difficult circumstances. And you always struck me as like a fighter who would never give up. I'm sure there is a job out there for you.
Yeah, well, that's my positive attitude, and we'll go with that. We'll go with that any day.
Go on. Right then, if you enjoyed that interview, you can catch us on Twitter at Peacock's Raw or on YouTube, the Roaring Peacock LUFC fan channel. I hope you enjoy the branding and the ads now that we've reached 1,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for that. You can catch us very soon with a match preview of the Liverpool game. We're back for a match review. Hopefully it was as good a review to do as the Man City one, because wow, was that a game. So it's a very goodbye from me. My name's Adonis. You can catch me at the Adelites on Twitter, and it's a very goodbye from Stats.
Bye, thank you. Good night.
At LUFC Stats. And where can people find you on social media, Robert?
Oh, not, I think.
Leave him alone. Leave the man alone.
No, I'm very boring at that. I never post anything, so I wouldn't recommend anybody following me.
Robert, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up, looking over the old times. Thank you so much, and hopefully once all this coronavirus is over and done with, we'll hopefully see you back at Elland Rd sometime in the near future.
I will look forward to that moment.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
MOT.
MOT all it on.
Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. A very special thanks to Barney Stewart, Cook Ewan and Howard Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon and Rob, The Light Show, and all our family and friends.
So many games to play, don't care what's on your mind. I should have said no, but